All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. We are going to do a little dive into Wilt Chamberlain. I see in my comments very often mentions about Wilt Chamberlain. We've covered him a little bit on this channel, but I don't feel like we've given him the respect that he deserves. So let's take a little dive in. This video is from Nonstop. It's called How Good Was Wilt Chamberlain Actually? And yeah, I like their content. They got a bunch of how good was this player actually, and I'm going to do a lot more of these reactions in the future. So go check out their channel if you haven't, and let's check this out together. Here we go.
Wilt Chamberlain is often considered the most dominant force that played the game of basketball, and one of the greatest players of all time. We already have the top 10 amazing facts on Chamberlain on this channel, and in this video, we'll try to further debunk the myth that is Wilt the Stilt. We'll try to answer the question of how dominant he really was, why he only won 2 championships, and why he didn't really like to dunk. So stay tuned.
By the way, quick tidbit. Actually, it's a question. Do any of you guys know of any full games of Wilt Chamberlain that I can check out? Anything on YouTube? If you do, hit me up in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Most versatile athlete ever. Wilt Chamberlain was the strongest NBA player ever, and numerous stories confirm this. Arnold Schwarzenegger once said that Wilt could lift him up like he was nothing, and multiple 240-pound NBA players said the same thing.
I forgot how crazy is it that Wilt Chamberlain is in Conan the Barbarian. I believe it was in the first one.
Chamberlain was an undefeated shot putter in college, and his record bench press was 550 pounds.
Good Lord.
At the age of 59, Wilt was still benching 465, more than some bodybuilders in their prime. Other than strength, Wilt was also extremely fast and agile.
Yeah. Okay, so some of this stuff I do know. He was a badass in track and field. High jump, long jump.
On a 40-yard dash in 4.6 seconds, and his personal best at 100 meters was 10.9, which is mesmerizing for a guy that is 7'1".
Goddamn.
Allegedly, at a Hollywood party, NFL Hall of Fame running back Jim Brown raced Wilt on a dare, and Wilt won.
Dude.
Brown, who was still in his prime, demanded a rematch, but Wilt beat him again. Wilt was also extremely athletic, with a vertical leap of over 40 inches, with some reports saying it was even 48 inches, which would qualify for the highest NBA vertical ever. And he was doing that in Chuck Taylors, which makes it even more impressive.
Damn, man. Could you imagine being that close to the rim while on the ground? Like, you dunk by just hopping up a couple inches. That's crazy. Especially with a high vertical like he has. Shoot. Why didn't he like to dunk? What was that all about?
Which would qualify for the highest NBA vertical ever. And he was doing that in Chuck Taylors, which makes it even more impressive. With crazy strength, speed, and jumping ability, it's safe to say Wilt was the best athlete ever.
Dude.
LeBron's and Usain Bolt's of the world would give him a run for his money, but neither of them could match his strength. The best shot blocker ever. When there is any talk about Wilt, people usually start with 100 points in a game and 50 points per season.
Yep.
His offense made him famous, and it sold tickets in newspapers. But what is rarely discussed is Chamberlain's defense.
Yeah, look at the hustle.
While he probably was the best defender in the league, and yes, that also includes Bill Russell. Wilt and Russell were the premier shot blockers in the league that didn't count shot blocking. But if it did, Hakeem Olajuwon wouldn't be the NBA all-time leader in blocked shots.
Agreed.
When Walter Bellamy first came to the NBA, he had one of the best rookie years ever, averaging 31.6 points per game. To this day, Bellamy's scoring is the best ever by an NBA rookie, behind only Wilt Chamberlain, of course, who averaged 37.6 in his inaugural season.
37.6.
The first time Bellamy played Wilt, they both met at half court, and Walter introduced himself. "Hello, Mr. Chamberlain. I'm Walter Bellamy." Wilt then replied with, "Hello, Walter. You won't get a shot off in the first half."
Okay, that's some Jordan-esque shit right there.
Wilt blocked Bellamy 9 times in a row in the first half. When the second half began, Wilt walked over to Bellamy and said, "Okay, Walter, now you can play." He did a very similar thing to Magic Johnson in 1980. At UCLA campus, Magic would play pickup with various college and NBA players in the offseason. Wilt showed up and got in the game. After Magic called a non-existent foul, a 43-year-old Chamberlain got mad. There will be no more layups in this gym, and he blocked every one of Magic's shot after that and ran him out of the gym. Wilt is also the only guy to block Kareem's skyhook, the most unguardable move in history.
Real quick, it's kind of why I really like watching Wemby right now. It's been a long time since I've seen a guy who just takes extreme pride in blocking the hell out of people. And we've seen him get 10 blocks in a game already. This is kind of, I don't know, I don't think I've ever seen anything like him, because we're getting a blast a blast from the past kind of guy, like, you know, like the Bill Russells and the Wilt Chamberlains, but combined with this modern big man thing where he can shoot threes, and, you know, he's got a bag of handles too. So curious to see what happens with Wemby throughout his career if he stays healthy, because so far, what a rookie season.
Wilt played against himself, and then everyone else. Wilt's mother emphasized to him that he is different because of his size, that he's going to be stared at, and that he must use it in a good way, and always be well-mannered and kind. So, Wilt grew up an extremely good-natured guy, and on the basketball court, he received a lot more punishment and knocks in the paint that he would give away.
Shaq before
he
Shaq.
knew that he could beat everybody up, but he refused to do so. Former NBA player and coach Jack McMahon said it best. The best thing that ever happened to the NBA is that God made Wilt a nice man. He could have killed us all with that left hand. This behavior was reflected in the way he played the game as well. Wilt was the biggest, strongest, and most athletic player in his era.
That's just not fair.
He could have easily dominated the game with his physical prowess alone. But unlike Olivia Newton-John, Wilt didn't want to get physical, at least not all the time. Nobody loves Goliath, Wilt said to Sports Illustrated, explaining that he wanted to show the world he's a skillful player and not just a brute force. He also admitted that him playing a finesse game and trying to be a versatile scorer actually hurt his career. What hurt me was that I wanted to be a consummate basketball player, and I wanted to be able to shoot the ball instead of just taking it to the basket and dunk it as I should have. I had great satisfaction shooting fadeaway shots, hook shots, finger rolls, and a lot of times, that was a negative more than a positive. If I just went out and took it to the basket every time, I'd have averaged 70 or 80 points a game.
It's the same thing Shaq's dad used to tell him. You know, if Shaq laid the ball up or did a little baby hook, like, Shaq's dad would let him hear it. Obviously not in his later career, but in his early career, it was a big deal. She was like, what's the point of having a body like this? Just throw it down. Dunk it. Two-hand dunk it. You know? Like, screw the finesse.
Wilt said. Things that were extraordinary were just ordinary for Wilt. And if we look at Wilt's stats, there is a huge discrepancy from the first half of his career, when he shot more than 30 times per game,
Look at that
and
fadeaway.
the second half, when he averaged only 13 field goal attempts per contest.
Oh, yeah.
Wilt was his own man, not really bothered too much by everyone else. And if he set his mind to do something, he would do it. So, after the 65-66 season, Wilt decided not to score as much. After he averaged 40 in his first 7 seasons, he wanted to prove that he can also pass, and became the league leader in assists, and is still the only center with this achievement.
Yeah, he was a victim of, I don't want to say a victim, but he was a score-first kind of guy, right? And he wasn't winning. They weren't winning championships. So, you know, they would kind of bash him for that and just call him selfish. And it looks like he turned around and he kind of pulled a Kobe. I'm not going to lie. Because Kobe did this at one point in his career too, shortly after Shaq left. And he just stopped shooting the ball, just started passing the ball and see what everybody else can do, just to shut the media up. But yeah, it looks like Wilt did that too. They said a lot of similar things about Jordan when he first came in the league, you know, calling him selfish and saying, you know, score first guard can't lead a team to championships and all this crap, until he did. And he shut him up. He did it 6 times.
Can you imagine Michael Jordan saying one day, "Okay, fellas, I'm not scoring anymore. From now on, I'll only pass"? Everybody would think Mike had gone mad.
Well, they
After
tried.
Wilt decided to pass the ball more, the press wrote a
They
story
tried
that
to
he
get Jordan to do it, but Jordan wasn't going for the bait.
couldn't score anymore. So naturally, in the next 3 games, the Big Dipper had 62, 55, and 48 points just to prove them wrong.
Well, see, that's also showing that's a negative, though, because he's listening to the media and then he's changing his game strategy to shut them up. And that's not, that's not staying focused on winning. I'm not trying to bash Wilt Chamberlain. I'm just making assessments here because young Kobe did that too. And Kobe stopped doing that later on in his career, and he had much success because of that. He just played his game. He knew what he was doing. He went out and won. And Wilt was, he was giving a shit what people think.
Wilt was as potent as ever, and the athletic freak that he was, he could have averaged over 30 for every year of his career. He just got tired of it. Watching Wilt, you always kind of got the idea he was just playing with people, that he was on cruise control and still 10 times better than anybody else that was playing at that time, said Dan Issel, a former NBA player and coach. 2 very different men, both larger than life, and forever linked in history of the game. Any conversation about Wilt almost always involves Bill Russell, and vice versa. They were the 2 best players of their time, and their careers will forever be intertwined. With his physical ability, statistical achievements, and pure dominance over everybody else, Wilt would likely be considered the best player ever. However, he's not even considered the best player of his time. And for a casual fan, he's just a guy with good numbers, while Russell was the winner.
Yeah.
And the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Okay, before we get this clarification, I just want to admit that has been my take all along on this whole deal. So it's that Wilt Chamberlain was the better individual player. He would rack up the stats, and I mean, if we're going one-on-one, he'd destroy everybody in the league. However, Bill Russell was the better winner. So it's not like how we had it in the Jordan era, where the best player in the league also became the best winner in the league. It seems like it's pretty rare that just actually does happen, and well, that's why I have him as my GOAT. And people get pissed I don't have Wilt in my GOAT list, and Bill Russell's getting there. I'm trying to sneak him in like my top 5, top 6, but I'm really looking for players that were the best player and the best winner of their time. And once again, that's why LeBron is not on my list anymore. He's not on my top 5 anymore because he's neither. There was a short time he was the best player, like slightly for a couple of years there, but he was never the best player and the best winner, and he's never been the best winner. So what are you going to do?
94 regular season meetings, Russell won 57 to Chamberlain's 37.
Damn.
In 49 playoff games, Russell came away victorious 29 times to Chamberlain's 20.
Okay, relatively close.
Between the years 1960 and 1969, Wilt's teams were faced against Russell's Celtics 8 times in the playoffs, with 4 of those going to the deciding Game 7. Russell won all 4, but the total point differential...
Quick tidbit, Bill Russell's never lost a Game 7.
...was just 9 points in all Game 7s combined.
Wait.
So, a couple of bounces the other way, and the points in... Russell won all 4, but the total point differential was just 9 points in all Game 7s combined. So, a couple of bounces the other way, and the rings narrative could have been different. Also, Russell had the best coach in the game and better teammates. However, that was also by design. Russell wasn't the physical freak like Chamberlain, and was not a highly touted player. Bill quickly realized that for success, he needs the whole team around him to be great. Russ wasn't as good a scorer as Wilt was, and even though he was capable, his intention wasn't to score himself. He always wanted to get the rest of the guys involved. He was the passer at his position.
Better winner.
But unlike Wilt, He wasn't trying to lead the league in assists to
Yeah.
prove it. Russell wasn't a better individual player than Wilt. It was the other way around. If they played one-on-one, Wilt would always come up on top. In their 94 regular season games, Wilt averaged 30 points and 28
Jesus
rebounds
Christ.
to Russell's 14 and 23. In the playoffs, it was similar. Wilt had 25.7 and 28, while Bill averaged 15 and 24.7 boards. But Russell was a superior leader and didn't care about the numbers and what others might think of it.
That's always what I got out of Bill. He didn't give a shit. He wanted to win. It wasn't about the individual stats. I mean, it's really, him and Jordan are so similar. It's just that Jordan was the better player individually. And outside of that, they had the same mentality. Screw individual stats, screw records, win the game, win the championship. That's the whole reason they showed up to work. And Wilt Chamberlain was more of that, that guy. Cared about what the media said. He was playing a battle against the media instead of just himself, and he didn't win nearly as much as a result. Kept himself distracted and, kind of drama.
And there lies the secret. Russell's game was constructed around team basketball. And because basketball is a team sport, the result in championships is 11-2. Even though some of the series were really close and could have gone the other way, Wilt would have been better off in an individual sport. He understood that too. Sometimes the mere power of you makes you more the individual player.
For real, if he was doing any individual sport like track and field or whatever, even boxing or something, Wilt would be the GOAT of many other sports, I do believe. But basketball, in order to be a GOAT, you have to be a hell of a leader. And I'm not seeing that from Wilt Chamberlain. I'm not seeing a great leader and a great winner. I'm seeing a fantastic athlete.
Russell was more complete and was able to help his team win more than I did. Wilt Chamberlain on the Boston Celtics would not have been the same. I would take away from Bob Cousy and Tom Heinsohn because I was a scorer too. So sometimes less is better. Wilt said about the eternal question of who is better between the two.
For instance, Jordan was getting 37 points a game, 35 points a game, and they weren't winning. They were getting to the playoffs and they weren't winning championships. Phil Jackson helped convince him. We gotta let everybody touch the ball, move the ball around and get everyone involved. So Jordan's average went down from that basically 36 average, 36 points a game, down to 30. So it was 29, 30, 31. Not a significant reduction, but enough. So he was still the leading scorer in the league and on the team. However, he decreased his stats in order to have a more successful team. And that's why he is, he's my favorite winner. Because he could have just gone out there and averaged 40 a game. No problem. And been that guy. But he might have only got 1 or 2 rings. And we wouldn't remember him the same. Individual stats, overrated.
Wilt was the Renaissance man. Wilt Chamberlain was a guy larger than life.
Look how tall he
lived
is.
life to the fullest. He was interested in everything and wanted to experience everything. He had a big heart, but was also a huge loner. And if you understand who he was as a person, that gives you a better understanding of who he was as a player. He achieved the biggest scoring feat in NBA history, and then decided it was time to start passing, and became the best passer in the league. He could have dunked everything, but wanted to become a versatile scorer. He still holds the record for the highest field goal percentage ever. He slept with one woman, only to start flirting with the next one. After he retired from basketball, he became the best volleyball player. And that's who Wilt really was. Never satisfied, always exploring and moving to the next thing. If he wanted to, he could have settled down. If he wanted to, he could have dunked every ball and won more championships. But that would have been boring. That would have been too physical, and he wouldn't have explored everything he could do. And that explains Chamberlain as a player. He was a Goliath who didn't want to be just the Goliath, because it's not as challenging, and nobody likes those guys anyway.
That was a good video. I did learn some things, and dude, I would really like to see some footage of him playing volleyball as a professional. That's got to be hilarious, honestly. He probably just dominates the shit out of everybody. Anyways, what do you guys think about Wilt Chamberlain? What do you guys think about my takes on Wilt Chamberlain? How far off base am I? Have I been? Because this video itself kind of just confirmed what I already thought. I learned some small little details, some numbers, but it is how I thought it was. You know, Wilt Chamberlain's a better individual player, and it's a team game. So Bill Russell was the better captain, leader, and winner. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. Comment down below what you think. And yeah, check out Nonstop Sports if you like this content. I'll do some more reactions from this channel. And shoot me a like, subscribe, and comment down below what you think. I'll see you tomorrow in the next video. Peace out.